Anime movies have been getting bigger and bigger lately, in terms of box office success, obviously, but also in terms of narrative scope and stakes. From Your Name to A Silent Voice, the most acclaimed anime films of recent years have tended to focus on big, emotional moments and world-shaking drama. Liz and the Blue Bird is not a big movie. In fact, it's about as small in scope as a film can get. An intimate, personal movie set almost entirely in a single location, a high school. And remarkably, it works. If you love anime, you need to see this film. And without spoiling it, I'm gonna tell you why. The whole of Liz and the Bluebird's 90-minute runtime is dedicated solely to exploring the relationship between two characters. It's not a particularly dramatic relationship either. Nozomi Kasaki and Mizore Yoroizuka aren't star-crossed lovers or bitter rivals, they're two close friends on the cusp of graduation who are each in their own way terrified of drifting apart from one another and struggling to find a way to say it. Well, okay, they're not just friends because this is a Hibike Euphonium spinoff and soft Yuri bait is kind of that show's thing, but this is no sordid romance. It's a truly wholesome love story, a tale of two people who care about each other a lot, trying to sort out the best way to care for each other. And trying to sort it out quickly so that their feelings don't get in the way of their oboe-flute duet in an upcoming concert band competition. That is the entirety of this film's conflict, and in concept it sounds pretty dull, but in motion it is absolutely breathtaking to behold. Do I really need to say that though? I mean, as a Kyoto animation joint, specifically one helmed by a silent voice and KyoAni director Naoko Yamada, jaw-dropping beauty is kind of what we expect here. But even within her impressive body of work, even next to a silent voice, Liz and the Bluebird stands apart. Not necessarily for gorgeous scenery or cinematography, though goddamn it has all that and more, but rather for its remarkably intricate and detailed character animation, which may very well be the most convincing and effective in animation history. That sounds hyperbolic, but the proof is really in the pudding. There's a reason that animated films typically go for bombastic melodrama over this kind of intimate, personal indie film plot. Most animated productions just can't handle it. Animated characters are generally designed to magnify their emotions, not deliver the kind of subtle, meaningful body language and expressions that are needed to convincingly drive a small, character-focused art house flick. Yet Liz and the Blue Bird pulls that off. At any moment, you can actively see the wheels turning in every character's head as they process and react to what's happening. Many of the film's most powerful turning points happen wordlessly in an instant as we see the characters reach new understandings, find their resolve, and cave to emotional pressure. It is astonishing how real these performances feel coming from cartoon characters, and anyone with even a cursory interest in the art of animation needs to see this film for that accomplishment alone. But technical excellence alone doesn't make a film great. Luckily, Liz gives me plenty more reasons to recommend it. The script is phenomenal. Every single character comes to life in such a believable way through their dialogue and their actions, but as well constructed as it is, I don't know that any animated film set entirely in one high school would be able to remain interesting from start to finish. So, Liz and the Bluebird uses a clever framing device to mix things up and incorporate some visual variety without shifting focus away from the relationship drama at its heart. The duet that Nozomi and Mizore must perform is part of a larger concert piece also titled Liz and the Bluebird, which is based on a story of the same name. In that story, a lonely young woman named Liz has her life brightened up when a cheerful young girl in a blue dress appears out of nowhere and starts living with her. The girl, as you might have guessed from the title, is actually a magical blue bird in human form, and when Liz starts to realize how living together is keeping the bird from really spreading her wings, she decides to set her free. It's a bittersweet little fairy tale that both Mizore and Nozomi see as mirroring their own relationship. Specifically, the wallflower Mizore feels like she's holding the vibrant and outgoing Nozomi back, although it's not quite as clear-cut as either of them might think. To complicate things, the duet that they must perform represents the scene where Liz, as Mizore's oboe, lets the bird, as Nozomi's flute, go. So they need to process their feelings in order to understand those of the characters and ultimately play the song correctly. As Mizore reads and rereads the story, trying to understand why Liz would ever let her best friend go, something that she can't even comprehend, the film weaves scenes from the book into its narrative. This is presented in stunning watercolor animation that is an entirely different kind of beautiful from the intricate realism of the film's A-plot. The storybook segments don't just exist to lend the film whimsy and visual flair, though. Their simpler, more direct presentation of the same emotions that Mizore and Nozomi are going through in the real world helps to guide our understandings of the main plot, making it much harder to misinterpret the subtle nuances in their body language and expressions without the film needing to resort to simply telling us what they're thinking. Another tool the film makes great use of, perhaps unsurprisingly given its subject matter, is music. Of course, without spoiling things, the performance of the titular song at the film's climax needed to be great for it to work at all, but I still wasn't expecting it to be as profoundly beautiful and moving as it was. It's not often that a song by itself can bring me to tears. The last time I remember that happening was with Your Lie in April, but I'm happy to say that Liz and the Bluebird managed to pull that off. That's not the only great musical moment, though. There's this wonderful sequence at the start of the film where the girls' footsteps on their way to school form the beat of the opening song, and the motion of their bodies is sort of transformed into a dance. Not only is this scene impressively captivating, especially considering that it goes on for a very long time without any dialogue, it also forces the audience to pay careful attention to how the characters are moving. As it goes on, we naturally get a feel for how Nozomi and Mizore carry themselves and what their state of mind is at the start of the film, setting a baseline against which we can compare their actions for the rest of its running time. And it contrasts beautifully with what we see in the closing sequence, though I won't spoil that either. This is one of those films where not a single moment or aspect of the production is wasted. Everything in it exists to further its core message in some way. It's incredible how tight every aspect of the production, from the direction to the writing to the composition and acting, is. And though it all serves a clear purpose, it is, first and foremost, beautiful and entertaining to watch. At this point, I've talked your ear off at length about how strong this film is on basically every level. It's one of the best anime I've seen all year, and it has been an incredible year for anime. But it's still a franchise film, so there's always the worry that that recommendation will come with an asterisk for those of you who aren't already fans of Hibike Euphonium. And for those of you who are, well, I probably don't need to tell you to go see it, now do I? So the big question is, does Liz and the Bluebird make a good entry point into the Hibike Euphonium franchise? And in my opinion, the answer is a resounding yes. While there's certainly things that you'll pick up on if you're already familiar with the show, Liz and the Bluebird is constructed in such a way that you need zero prior knowledge of the characters or the show's world to understand and appreciate its story. And I can personally attest to this because I came into it without much of that prior knowledge. The last time I watched Hibike Euphonium was 3 years ago, when the first season aired. While I really enjoyed it when season 2 came out in fall of 2016, there were way too many other shows vying for my attention, so I put it on my backlog and never got to it. And while from what I've heard they play key roles in season 2, Mizore and Nozomi are just background characters in that first season, so I knew essentially nothing that I needed to about them going into this. Lucky for me, the film does a fantastic job of introducing them and framing their character arcs, and nothing in its story is tied to the overarching plot of the show, so it works perfectly as a standalone piece while still delivering some fantastic fan service for those who are already invested. No, not that kind of fan service, the wholesome kind. Liz and the Bluebird is a film that I think every anime fan can appreciate, whether they've seen Hibike Euphonium or not. It's yet another masterpiece from Naoko Yamada, and in a few important ways, might be her best work yet. Following a film that Makoto Shinkai himself called a grand and polished production that even he couldn't hope to replicate, that really says something. Don't let this film's small scale fool you. It's much bigger on the inside. Liz and the Bluebird starts a limited theatrical run in the United States tomorrow, November 9th, courtesy of 11 Arts, who, full disclosure, also sent me a press screener so that I could write this review. If you want to make the most of this weekend, click the link in the doobly-doo to see a list of showings near you and check it out for yourself. Trust me, it is worth going out of your way to see this one on the big screen and to hear its soundtrack coming through theater speakers. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button and click that subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me from now until the fat lady sings. I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.